So humanists work to uphold enjoyment of human rights and civil liberties in an open and secular society. And Tom Morgan will not be silent in the face of injustice. Tom was a founding state lead organizer of GetEQUAL Ohio, a chapter of a national group. He served on the executive board of Freedom to Marry Ohio. And as an independent activist, Tom is a big fan of rallying friends first and then others into action as the need arises. A group of Tom's friends and supporters brought Ohio the first ever marriage equality billboard. Tom plans to march with the billboard image in the Columbus Pride Parade. And Tom recently got involved with the Bexley City Council debates concerning a proposed anti-discrimination ordinance. Tom describes himself as an activist and gay guy in a 17-year relationship with his roommate. Tom Morgan will share his experiences as an activist, talk about what keeps him motivated, and offer his strategies for ways that we can make a difference. So, as Tom gives us some straight talk from a guy who isn't, please join me in giving him a warm welcome. Thank you.
Well, hello. I'm the gay guy. I wanted it clear today, so I hope you all know the story of the pink triangle. If not, we'll talk after. That was a great introduction. Thank you. You made me sound really cool. I'd like to meet me one day. I read this today, and I really liked it. Humanism. Live your life to the fullest, love other people, and leave the world a better place. Thank you, and good night. I mean, if that doesn't sum up life, I don't know what does. Speaking of life, I have some opinions about it. I want to make this clear that what I'm about to share with you are my opinions. Okay? My opinions. It doesn't mean they're fact, except inside my brain. So let's do there. Have you ever felt powerless? Anybody? Sure you have. It's part of life. My early life was completely devoid of any power whatsoever. I was raised by an incredibly abusive father, years and years of Catholic school. Then I grew up and became a missionary for 3 years, then went on to Bible college for several more years until I was kicked out. 3 guesses. So there was no power in the vast majority of my early life and early adulthood. No power whatsoever. I was not one to speak up. I was not allowed to. My opinion did not matter. It was either what Dad said, or what the Bible said, or what the church said. My opinion about my own life was completely irrelevant. I'm here to tell you today that is absolutely, completely unacceptable. The only good part of that I can come up with is that it kind of made me the big mouth fag that I am today. I won't be silent, as Derek said, and it's true. And I'm uniquely suited for this kind of pursuit because of my childhood, because of being, muzzled my entire life, not daring to issue an opinion. Well, now I've got plenty of them, and I'm taking them on the road. And it's not that I'm anything special at all. At all. My firm belief is somebody's got to do it. And like that old adage, if not me, who? So I decided it would be me. I came to Ohio in 1982. I met my roommate, who's actually my fiance, in 98, and we've been together ever since. In 2004, we nearly lost him. He was a passenger in a horrific car accident. The other 3 people in the car went home the next day. Brad was in a coma. He had traumatic brain injury, skull fracture. He was on a vent. He had 3 chest tubes. They didn't know if he would make it or not. I didn't know if he would make it or not. I got the phone call at work. He was on a road trip to Cleveland for his work. I got to the hospital, and that's when the nightmarish conditions got much worse. I want to make it clear that this, bar none, was the worst time in my entire life. The man I loved, the man I had lived with for 6 years at that time, was laying very close to death. And I got a front row seat in the parking lot or in my car. I was allowed about that much time every day to visit my partner. His family, up until then, never had a problem with us. When we'd go to his parents' home for Christmas or whatever, and we'd stay over, they'd put us in the same room, in the same bed. They knew, there was no secret. Everybody knew Tom and Brad were a couple. But that was private. That was in their home. There were no onlookers. There was nothing to be ashamed of because it was so private. The scene at the hospital was very different. There were a lot of people sitting around, each, worried about their own family member, loved one. And then there's me, and I'm sure you know, in the ICU, pretty much 2 people max at a time. And they're very limited, 15 minutes, and then you have to leave because intensive care is just that. So we sat there frantically waiting. We had to drive a couple hours because he was life-flighted to Akron. His parents live in Barnesville, Ohio, which is near Wheeling. So we all get there and we're all freaked out. We don't know if Brad's going to live or die. So we're waiting. Finally, the doctor comes out, and it's just like you see on TV. We're all sitting around freaking out, and then the doctor comes out and says his name, Bradley, and we all jump up. I'm a nurse. It's what I do. I know how hospitals work. I knew there were only going to be 2 people allowed to go see him. I was going to be one of those 2 people. Come hell or high water, I was going. And it wasn't to be crafty or mean or evil. But think about this for a second. If he were female, if Brad was my legally wedded wife, there would be no question. None. Spouses rule, period. And then it goes, immediate family and on down the line. Again, no power. I was not even family, even after having lived together for 6 years. So the doctor came out, gave us the spiel. It wasn't good. And then he said, okay, 2 of you. And immediately I started walking to the doors. And I turned back and I told his parents, one of you are welcome to join me. I'll see you in there. And I did not stop. And I know they're his parents. I know they love him dearly. I was not trying to be rude or any of the above. I just knew that my identity with him didn't matter to a soul in that hospital. And if I was going to be able to see him, make any decisions for him, I'm a nurse. I knew I was going to have to be assertive, borderline aggressive. Well, it didn't go well. As I said earlier, I spent most of the lengthy hospital stay either in my car or sitting out in the smoking section or, outside or on the curb. I wasn't allowed to be in when he was finally moved to a hospital room by official parental decree, I was not to be in the room while they were in the room. They were always in the room. So he finally came out of the coma, didn't know anything or anyone, didn't know me, didn't know his parents, had to be retaught everything. And he's highly intelligent. Very intelligent man. Reads about 1 billion books a week. That's what he does. He reads. So to go through this transformation was very difficult to watch. And I remember, we laugh about this now. He was given by occupational therapy a puzzle to put together that was about this big. And it had maybe 4 puzzle pieces. 4. And he was to put them together. Pissed him off to no end. He says, you don't think I can do this? Again, very smart guy. He was really rather insulted at this 4 puzzle pieces. and then he couldn't do it. So we knew then we had a long road to go, and we did. Even after the hospitalization were months of therapy. His parents did not want him to go to Dodd Hall, which is a nationally recognized rehabilitation center. They wanted to take him back to Bug Tussle and have him sit in their nursing home. I've been there. I visited his grandpa there. If Bradley had gone to that nursing home, he'd still be sitting there drooling on himself. I knew I had to get his butt into Dodd Hall. And finally, we won out. The social workers agreed that this is the best place for him. So fast forward to today, he's 100% full recovery. It took forever. But again, highlighting powerlessness in a situation. So a little while later, Facebook comes along. I didn't really know much about it, didn't really know what it was. Bradley was on it. He's in a fraternity. He had 400 friends, and I thought, good Lord, I don't know 400 people on this earth. And he kept saying, you need to try this. I think you'll like it. It's really informative and interesting. And I resisted. I kept resisting. I thought it was for teenagers or something, and I resisted. So finally, I get on Facebook. And I'm looking around, and I thought, you know what? This is interesting because a lot of news comes through here. A lot's crap, but a lot of news outlets come through Facebook. And I quickly learned that the more LGBT, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex, queer people, as I lump them together, because the acronym is becoming endless, and I have no animosity for it, I just stumble. So queer people, I knew the more of them that I made friends on Facebook, the more of that news would come through my news feed, the more I would learn about my gay world and what was going on. And that's kind of a blessing and kind of a curse. But the neat thing about it is I started seeing people do stuff that I had never seen before. It had never been covered on the news. There was a group called GetEQUAL, and I remember sitting there riveted to my screen watching video of, during the Don't Ask, Don't Tell era, 13 of them had handcuffed themselves to the iron gates at the White House. I was losing my mind. I could not, I was ravenous for more. I wanted to know, and I thought, this is for me. I have to do something. These people are making a difference. They're garnering attention for a vital issue, while most gay people just sit around. These people are acting, and it ate my brain. I couldn't, I was obsessed. But here I am in Ohio, and I wasn't an activist. I didn't know where to begin, what to do, how to start. I didn't live in LA, New York, DC, where lots of gay people are and where activism is bound to be born. And then one day, through Facebook, I heard of a lovely little group called the National Organization for Marriage, which sounds lovely. It's not. They're a hate group, specifically aimed at making sure that marriage equality never happens in this country. But it sounds sweet, doesn't it? National Organization for Marriage. I'm sure they're lovely people. They're not. They were having a bus tour. They were going around the country, spewing their hate, making sure that the gays don't get to marry, and they were coming to Columbus. I nearly wet myself. I was so excited. I had never been to a protest in my life. Why? I don't know. I knew I was bound to be Norma Ray one day. I just didn't know how or when or what the circumstances would be. But that day, I found it. I knew. So me and this guy that I had never met from Ohio began chatting. And we said, we got to do something. We have to do something. So lo and behold, we threw together this protest, counter-protest of the non-bus tour stop at the Capitol here in Columbus, Ohio. Never met this guy. So we organized it, we rallied, and then he lived about an hour out of town, didn't drive. So that morning, with everything that was going on and as nervous as I was, I had to drive up there and get him and meet him and then drive back. Come to find out, among their tour, there were counter-protests all along the way. The one that was thrown in Columbus, Ohio, by me and this guy, our first time ever, was the largest counter-protest they faced in that bus tour. Go me. We were astounded. There were 22 people on their side. There were 120 people on our side. It was the side of the Capitol building right there by the Ohio Theater. And if you look, that entire block, it seemed, was filled with people chanting and holding up signs and standing up for themselves, my Lord. Standing up for themselves, as opposed to, throughout pretty much all of gay history, just taking it. Being kicked and beaten, killed, and just taking it. I saw people saying, no, we're done. We're not going to take this anymore. And I was hooked. That was over 100 protests ago. And we're nowhere near stopping. As Derek pointed out, I've aligned myself with a few equality organizations in my time. Now I am, and I applaud the independent activist. When we raise money, it's for poster board. It's for gas to get you there. We help one another get done what needs to get done. We're not paying to keep the lights on somewhere. We're not paying a communications director, and we're not paying to send you groovy little bumper stickers. We act according to need. Something comes up, we move. That is the heart and soul of independent activism. A lot of people feel like they need to align themselves with a group, and if you want to, that's great, and there are lots of great ones out there. But I'm here to tell you that independent anything, if you've got friends and supporters and people who want to get on the move with you, I think that's the coming wave of activism. I really do. You see a lot of gay equality groups anymore really coming under fire for not being as diverse, not being as transgender friendly as they ought to be, not including people of color as they should. A lot of them seem to be run by and for rich, white, gay, cisgender, meaning identifying as the body you were born with, males. And weddings seem to have gotten hijacked that way too. A lot of people have said that they're not really into supporting gay marriage because it just perpetuates elitism. And I'm here to tell you that when I get married, I doubt seriously that I'll be standing there in a designer tuxedo, having just been driven up by my vintage white Rolls Royce. I mean, my wedding will not be an HRC wedding. We'll probably just stand there with some friends in t-shirts and do the deed. We've been together for 17 years now. Point being, independent activism, I believe, is the way to go. A few months ago, I got a phone call from a friend who said, "Oh my God, Tom, you're not going to believe this. I just saw the most heinous billboard." It was in Grandview Heights, Ohio, just outside of Columbus. And it was a big white billboard, and it said simply, "Holy matrimony is between one man and one woman." And there was a picture of two interlocking wedding rings, who strangely enough both look like male wedding rings to me. But anyway, to many, many people, that is a polite, simple statement of fact. In a lot of people's lives, that's fact. Holy matrimony is between one man and one woman. The thing that is troubling about that is we feel that it was more than just a statement of fact. It came up right before the Sixth Circuit Court was getting ready to rule on marriage equality. We felt it served to confuse the issue. I want it clear that marriage equality activists aren't setting out to take anything away from anybody. If Bobby and Mary Sue want to get married and want to make it the holiest frickin' marriage that has ever been, have a ball. I don't give a crap. It does not affect me. Much like my wedding won't affect you. See that? If you don't know me, you don't know if I'm married or not, do you? You know I'm living in Ohio. You know it's not legally recognized in Ohio. But am I married? You can't say. So don't sit there and tell me that my marriage is going to affect you when you don't know if I am or not. You don't know if your neighbors are or not. And frankly, it's none of your business. What you do with your life, bravo, go forward, whatever. But the same applies to us. I mentioned the National Organization for Marriage. There are countless groups whose sole purpose is to step on people who are not like themselves. NARTH, National Association for Research and Therapy of Homosexuality. Oh, brother. AFTA, Americans for the Truth About Homosexuality. Let's guess how many homosexuals are in that organization. Who are they going to ask? How do they know the truth about homosexuality when by their own admission they distance the crap out of themselves against anybody who may be one of us? Yeah, that sounds like a great group. Family Research Council. They've become popular lately because somebody used to have a very high position with them. His name is Josh Duggar. Family Research Council. They're all about the family and what makes the family great and what makes gays bad. And you would not believe the literature that comes out about people like me. The most vile accusations you can think of. And he was head of their political something, and we all know that story, or at least the beginning of it, because I'm pretty convinced it's not over with. There's another one, American Family Association. There's another one from right here in Columbus called Mission America. Oh, by the way, most of these have been designated as hate groups by the Southern Poverty Law Center. If you don't know who the Southern Poverty Law Center may be, I strongly advise you Google them. They have a hate watch, and it's not just gay folks. It has to do with hate, period. Racial hate, this hate, that hate. They log and categorize and monitor hate groups. There are currently 37 hate groups in the state of Ohio. Hating all kinds of different stuff. So gay people like me, lesbians, transgender people, intersex people, people who aren't straight, face criticism and lies, bigotry, and hatred every day from the media, churches, schools, businesses. We're not going to make your pizza. By the way, what self-respecting gay couple is going to serve pizza at their wedding? I'm just saying. I saw a great meme, and it was a gay couple, and they had the big stand, and they were cutting the cake. They had the big knife, but it wasn't a cake; it was a pizza. Cracked me up. So all these different places, and not least of all is family. Another reason why I call myself a big mouth fag is for people like Tyler Clementi, who threw himself off a bridge. Leila Alcorn from right here in Ohio threw herself in front of a semi-truck because she felt she had nowhere else to go, no source of hope or help. Somebody's got to do this stuff. Somebody's got to speak out. Religious freedom is a lie. It is absolutely a lie. It is the mask that bigotry wears. They can't just, a good old happy family-affirming church can't very well come out and tell you who they hate. So they get crafty. They make up little buzzwords like religious freedom. There's nothing about religious freedom that is true or real. And by the way, we have religious freedom in this country. That's just their buzzword for queer hate. Who knows what the gay agenda is? Yeah, I'm one of them and I don't. But I'm being told what it is on the daily because people like, that research homosexuality and Americans for the Truth About Homosexuality, you can better believe they would have an answer. And I'm a gay guy and I can't tell you an answer to that. I know my agenda today was get up, have some coffee, come here and speak to you good people, have a ball, enjoy the rest of the day, maybe go to the arts festival. That's my frickin' gay agenda. Okay? How radical is that? Except maybe the speech here. Some people might consider that, but still. I've got some quotes I'd like to throw at you for some people I really admire. We must always take sides. Always. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented. Elie Wiesel. How wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. Anne Frank. Never doubt, I love this, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. Margaret Mead. You may never know what results come of your actions. But if you do nothing, there will be no results. Oh boy, Gandhi. He was busy. And to those who would choose the safety of inaction over the danger of taking a stand, I have this to say. You bloody cowards. May you have the world that you deserve. Mira Grant. I don't know who she is, but I think I love her. We cannot do everything, but we can all do something. Dylan Burrows. This is a great one, too, from a great lady, Lily Tomlin. I always wondered why someone doesn't do something about that. Then I realized I was somebody. One of the most favorite chants of mine, oh my God, that we use pretty much everywhere we go, everything we do comes from that, I believe. And it's just simply a state and repeat. I am somebody. I deserve full equality right here, right now. I am somebody. This quote is another great one for me. Trust the power of your own voice. That's a quote from Major Steve Schneider Hill, who many of you will remember was the soldier who was booed during the GOP debates. And then in that same broadcast, no one corrected their action. No one called anyone out. And by the way, he was overseas at the time. What was he doing? Was he on vacation? Was he seeing Paris? No. He was fighting for us. He was active duty military. And when he brought up, don't ask, don't tell, the audience booed and the candidates did nothing. He's written an amazing book called Soldier of Change. I highly suggest reading it. It's a great encapsulation of the history of recent history of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and how one man navigated through it. And it's really cool. Josh and Stephen are not legally recognized as being married in the state of Ohio, but they were married in D.C. in Congressional Cemetery at the grave of Leonard Matlovich, who some of you may remember. He was the first, I believe, Navy person to be booted out of the military back in the 70s for being gay, the first of a ton. And his tombstone reads, while I was in this service, I was given a medal for killing 2 men and a discharge for loving 1. Protected class. That's what LGBT people need to be. A protected class in United States federal anti-discrimination law is a characteristic of a person which cannot be targeted for discrimination. You've all read it 1,000 times, blah, 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 race, creed, gender, religion. All those things are covered. They're called protected classes. Even as far as employment goes, Ohio is an at-will state, which a lot of people think means you can be fired at any time for any reason, no questions asked. That is completely wrong. It's close, but it's wrong. You can be fired, you can be terminated from your job unless you are in a protected class. Just because this is an at-will state does not mean your boss can come up and say, you know what, I'm firing you, you're a woman. Bye. Illegal. Can't do it. I'm going to fire you because you're Jewish. Can't do it. Illegal. I'm going to fire you because you're gay. All right. Pack your bags. And in the majority of states in this country, that is still true. The score right now for marriage, is, as far as states go, is 37-13. The end of this month, we'll know how that changes. If you've got any stock in an Ohio wedding supplier, I suggest you ante up, because I think it's going to be busy. I cannot in my little mind imagine that with the score now being 37-13, that the Supremes will undo that. That's unfathomable to me. I really believe we are very near victory for marriage. But that does not mean we're done, because as many people have pointed out, I can get married on Saturday and be fired for being a queer on Monday. I don't have the same rights as other people in that, people get married. What's the first thing they do? They put their wedding pictures on their desk at work. It's a great moment, hopefully. It'll only happen once for them, if that's what's in the cards. It's a big deal. People want to celebrate that. People talk about their wives all the time. I don't think straight people realize this, but if you're in a family, if you're in a relationship, you reference those people all the time. Try not to do it for a day. Try removing pronouns for a day at work. Try removing titles. No wife, no Sally, no her, no she. Yeah, think about that for a second. You think it's easy? We get used to it. We've been doing it for a very long time, and soon we won't have to. Soon we won't have to. We'll be able to marry, and I believe that shortly thereafter, state by state, will come to their senses and realize that we are decent employees, and if we're not, it's probably not because we're not straight, because just like any segment of society, we have our cream of the crop, we have our not so much, just like you guys. Again, another similarity. I think I'm done. How's that for an abrupt ending?